you have to teach yourself. You have to be able to do that, and you've been doing that your whole life. It sounds like. I mean, with the gaming and the programming and stuff. I mean,
Yeah. Even now at work, every day I come across things that I think like, wow, I've never encountered this. How do I solve it? And sometimes you come up with a solution within half an hour, and sometimes you sit days on it. Or sometimes you have to ask someone. Like I have some of my coworkers that I think they're incredibly smart people. And usually if I try to do due diligence, and if I'm stuck, I would ping them on Slack typically. It's like, hey, I'm looking into this. Do you have anything off the top of your head? And sometimes they do, which is great because it saves me a lot of time. And sometimes they don't. It's like, that's okay. I'll just keep digging until I figure it out. And I think just to tie in school and work. So I think the biggest problem with school, or maybe not school, but with students, is that most of the problems that are being asked of them to solve, they can Google and get an answer. When you're out in the real world and you encounter a problem, you don't know if there is a solution for the problem that you're trying to solve. There may be, there probably is, but not always. I've worked on some things that it was just, at least with my skill and knowledge, it was just not solvable. And we go like, hey, we gave it a shot. We worked 2, 3 weeks on it, and we just can't get it to work. Okay, great. It sucks, but let's move on and let's work on the next thing. It happens. And there was a problem that I worked on with it was on Xbox and PlayStation 3 where we mimicked VoIP, the voice over IP from a headset and played MP3 samples back. So we basically hijacked the system. We played MP3s because the feature was like when you play with your friends at home and you have your headset on, we want to have a
mhm.
coach talking to you and not to your other friends that are playing with you. And there were so many bugs in the Xbox SDK and in the PS3 library that we reached out to Microsoft and Sony, and we had them change and fix those bugs. It was great. It made me feel really good. But I spent I think almost 3 months on building that.
Wow,
Yeah, it
wow.
was 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 a huge task. But it was fun. It was like I think back on everything I've done in my career, that was by far the most challenging and interesting feature or thing that I wrote or that I worked on. It was a lot of fun. Very
So
rewarding.
so was it stressful at the time, and then looking back, it's like I'm glad I went through it, kind of thing.
Yeah, because I remember my lead at the time, he kept coming by. He's like, you spend quite a bit of time on this. Are you sure you're gonna get this to work? Because this was for Madden, and we don't miss Madden ship dates. Madden ship date is there, we ship no matter what. And that's why we used to have a lot of overtime, which is it's a lot better now. But I remember way back, I used to work 90, 100 hours a week, 7 days
Wow,
straight through.
wow,
Yeah, it
wow,
was it was it was not fun. Because you
wow.
get burnout, right? Everybody burns out after that much time because mostly sleep deprivation, and you just start tunnel visioning on things, and the quality of your code actually goes down over time. So when you're rested and when you're fresh, you fix things, the quality is usually good, and the problem is fixed and it's done. When you get really tired and fatigued and your brain is not functioning properly, you fix one thing, but you break one or two other things. And so instead of actually going down and bugs that you fix, you actually start going up again. And when people take metrics and they just follow the numbers, they kind of lose track of, hey, the rate of our numbers is not going the right way. We need to change something. But because they're under so much pressure, they're just like, no, more hours, more people. We need to get these numbers down. And sometimes it comes a point where adding more resources is just not helpful. You get past a critical point, if you will, where it becomes beneficial and it actually turns into becoming detrimental to reaching the goal. But yeah, in any case, sorry for that ramble. Yeah, it was very rewarding. It was scary. It was very stressful. But the danger was that every day I felt like, oh, today is going to be the day that I get this to work. Because when you write code, you kind of know when you got something and it's kind of working, but there's a problem. It's like, oh, if I can only spend 1 more hour on this, and I'm going to fix this, I'm going to figure this out, and I'm going to have this, and 1 hour turns into a week, and then you look back, it's like, what happened this week? I don't know. Yeah, but it's dangerous. I think um, I think it is very important to be able to pull yourself away. And it is very important to give yourself a break. Yeah, I'm sure you've heard there are a ton of analogies between your brain and muscles, and even though it's not a one-to-one relationship like that, your brain does get fatigued
Hmm.
and you do get tired. And I think the biggest problem with that is your concentration, right? Because once you start losing your concentration, then everything is. I have to say, I don't know if you can hear the baby in the background, but if you do, I do apologize.
No, it's okay. It's good. It's great.
But yeah, concentration and lack of concentration is that's a killer.
Hmm.
And I think the best way of retaining your concentration is you have to do something that's fun and relaxing sometimes. And sleep, I cannot stress how important sleep is.
Yeah.
So I cannot
Yeah.
stress enough how important sleep is. But yeah.
Is your workload better now? Like currently, like it's much more manageable, you think?
Yeah, it is. So without going into too many details, my previous position on the Frostbite engine team was a bit of a mixed bag. Some things were really good, some things were not good or enjoyable at all, and it left me questioning a lot of things. And um, so when I moved over to the team now, I'm actually not stressed at all right now. I really enjoy what I'm doing. I like working on the game team side because work is different. Because when you work on a game, okay, I think I should provide some context here. So we have engine teams and we have game teams. So within a game team, you have people that work on the rendering engine, you have people that work on audio, you have people that work on AI, on gameplay, UI. There are a whole number of different domains within the game. They're all considered part of the game team. But the tech that they build, the code that they write, it sits on a number of libraries. When you work on a game, you want to focus on making your game. You don't want to have to worry about, oh crap, I have to write this driver that works with this particular video card that works on this particular platform. You don't want to write code that is like, oh, okay, this is just for Xbox, but I have to rewrite it completely different for Sony PlayStation or for Nintendo. You just want to write your code. That's it. So we have the engine team, and the engine team provides the tools for the designers to say, if you have like an Unreal or a Unity, Frostbite they have a Frost editor. This is the same thing where you can go in and you can set up game rules, game logic, you can load up assets, and you can basically build your whole game and see what your game looks like. It's similar to Unreal Engine. And so that's what the engine team does. Now, the focus is very different because on the engine team, what you try to do is you try to write code as as robust as possible. You try to take into account as many things that could go right and wrong, and you try to handle all of them. And you try to build user interfaces that work for all the teams. But if you work on a game like Madden, or you work on a game like Battlefield, they have completely different needs and requirements. So it's hard to deliver something unified that works for everyone. So there are some divergences, and things work better for some game teams than for others. But those are the kind of problems that you solve. But in general, things take a long time before things happen. Whereas on the game teams, it's typically, hey, we need this and we need this now. Make it happen. It looks ugly. It's not the greatest. Does it work? Yeah, that's all we care about. Let's move on. It's a very different, and I'm making a bit light of it. There are obviously checks and bounds, and we have code reviews in place, and we have unit testing, automated tests. We have a lot of things in place to make sure that the code that you write and that you submit for the game, that is in the game, that it's not causing any crashes or any bugs or things like that. So, but it's a different mentality, and it's a different work process.